Alright, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory. Call halayim la Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the sincere apostles and elders of a great millstone who are my teachers. And peace and salutations to you brothers out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. This is the brother Yahweh Sop with another lesson. And today I'm just going to be going into how the nations of the earth are the tools of the Heavenly Father. All right, and the reason I was inspired to do this lesson is I was watching another brother, and he was going into how the Lord is the one that sets these nations up, right? He set up Esau to rule over the world in the end time, so that way he could justify in destroying him, all right, and set the earth in the perfect balance, all right, and the rest of the nations that came before Esau, such as the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Egyptians, all right, even the Israelites that were in rulership during the time of King David and King Solomon, and the other kings that came after him, or after them, should I say. They were all tools of the Heavenly Father to usher in everything that you see happening now. All right, it's all part of his story. He is the potter, we are the clay, and so just wanted to touch on these things to further prove how the Heavenly Father is in control. All right, and so that word tool, starting it off with the word tool in the etymology, that noun means a mechanical instrument for manual use, implement used by a craftsman or laborer, weapon, implement, all right, prepare, right? So ultimately this is an instrument that is for manual use. All right, jumping down, it says the figurative sense of that which is used as a means to some end, especially person used by another for his own ends, is recorded from 1660. So the Lord is the one in control, and we're all tools of the Heavenly Father. The prophets are the tools to usher in the kingdom, to usher in warnings from the Heavenly Father. All right, these different nations are tools to discipline you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and North American Indians, and you Israelites are tools of the Heavenly Father to usher in righteousness. All right, we all have a purpose, and we all have a lot upon the earth. All right, and so without further ado, I'm going to start off with my first precept in the book of Psalms, chapter 24, and verse 1. It says, a psalm of David, the earth is Yahweh's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. And so the Lord is in control of everything. All right, he controls different nations. He controls their thoughts. He controls the evil that happens. He controls the good that happens. All right. Matter of fact, let me grab this as well in the book of Isaiah, chapter 45. All right, because you may be thinking to yourself, well, the Lord doesn't create evil. He doesn't do all the bad things, but that's not true. This is the book of Isaiah 45 and verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. And so the Lord is the one that has everything happen upon the earth. When you see judgment, when you see thousands of people die from earthquakes, from storms, that was the Lord's doing. All right, when you see a man get blessed, he gets it put into a position of power, that is the Lord's doing. All right, and you can, when you analyze a person's life, even if you analyze your own life, you can see how certain things that happened in your life led you to where you are now. And it was by no coincidence. All right, because Esau, the so-called self-proclaimed white man, will have you believe that everything happens by chance. And that's not the case. All right, the Lord has the story already written out. All right, he preordained all these things from the beginning. All right, and just to further prove, let me grab this in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 25. And let me see, where am I going to start at? Salakia, I have it written down. Salakia 27 and verse 5. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 27 and verse 5. It says, matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 4. It says, and command them to say unto their masters, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the power of Israel, thus shall you say unto your masters, I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground, by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me. And now I have given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beast of the field have I given him also to serve him. And all nations shall serve him, and his son and his son's son, until the very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. And so there you go. So the Lord set up these different kings on the earth when our people went off, when we started committing sin, all right, the Lord removed us out of the land and he put these different nations over us. All right, the whole reason why these nations are in rulership right now is because they were used to discipline you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and North American Indians. All right, like it tells you in the book of Baruch, that the Lord made good upon his promises, all right, upon his word of the curses that were going to come upon us. And some of those curses were that we should serve our enemies. All right, we shall be taken into bondage into Egypt again by way of ships, all right, by way of slave ships. And that's exactly what happened. All right, and the only reason why these different nations are in power is because the Lord, as we just read, he's the one who sets up everything upon the earth. All right, let me grab this in the book of Daniel, chapter 4, and I'm going to jump down to I'm going to start at verse matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse 28. It says, all this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar, because if you read the book of Daniel, the king during that time, he was very proud against the Heavenly Father, and so the Lord gave him the mind of a beast. All right, and so when he restored his mind, this is what the king had to say. It says, at the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. And they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. All right, and so the Lord gave this king the mind of a beast, all right, to eat grass as oxen, all right, and it was what? So that way he can know that the Lord is the one that rules in the kingdom of men, and to remind him that he was just a tool. All right, everything that was given unto him was given from the Heavenly Father. All right, you see, these different nations, they make the mistake of thinking that they gained all the power by their own selves. All right, Esau thinks that he just came out of the caves smarter, faster, stronger. All right, and just overtook the earth by his own might. But when you read the book of Job, chapter 9 specifically, it tells you that the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right, the wicked didn't just take it; they didn't finesse the Heavenly Father or outsmart the Heavenly Father or overpower him. It was the Lord that set him up. All right, and so let me jump down. No. I'm going to keep it going. So verse 33, it says, the same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? And so King Nebuchadnezzar, he was acknowledging that it was the Lord that, hey, look, the Lord set me up. All right. Once he got his understanding back, he was like, all right, it was the Heavenly Father that put me here, because as we just read, he was saying that it was him that he established his the kingdom by his own power, by his own might. All right. But it was the Lord that was with him. All right. And so let me see if there's anything left. Right. Yeah. So continue. It says, verse 36, at the same time, my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom, mine honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. And that's right, because pride, let me grab this, is when one departs from the Heavenly Father. All right, you forget your maker. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 10, and jumping down to verse 12. It says, the beginning of pride is when one departed from Yahweh and his heart is turned away from his maker. You think that everything you have is your own doing, when in reality, it's the Lord that set you up, gave you the knowledge, gave you the understanding. All right. He kept your enemies from overtaking you. All right. It says, verse 13, for pride is the beginning of sin, and he that hath it shall pour out abomination. And therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly, just like upon King Nebuchadnezzar, when he gave him the mind of a beast. All right. His nails grew out, his hair got long. All right. He was among the ox, eating grass and shit, man. Now imagine walking around seeing Donald Trump do that shit, man. It would freak the people out, man. All right, and this is what the Lord is going to do to Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man. All right, the Lord said in Isaiah 14 that he shall be brought down to the ground. All right, and over it states that these nations are going to know that it is the Lord that rules in the kingdom of men. All right, so from here, let me grab the book of Job. All right, and I'm checking my notes, just making sure I'm staying on the right path. This is the book of Job, chapter 12, and verse. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at verse. This is all good. This is all good. But I'm going to get right to the point in verse 23. It says, he increaseth the nations and destroyeth them. He enlargeth the nations and straighteneth them again. So it's the Lord that he increases the nations. All right, when you see the Israelites committing sin, he'll raise up a nation like Babylon, Assyria, to do what? To destroy and punish the people of Israel. All right. And he'll have all the nations of the earth serve that particular nation for a set time. All right. Matter of fact, that actually, let me see. Yep. That's actually my my next precept in the book of Isaiah chapter 10. All right. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 5. It says, O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger and the staff in their hand is mine indignation, which if you don't know, staffs and scepters usually symbolize power. All right. So pretty much it says, and the power in their hand is mine indignation, because the Lord used this nation, Assyria, to discipline the northern kingdom, right? It says, verse 6, I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. And that's right. So the Lord is the one that gave the Assyrian this power, right? It says in verse 7, howbeit he meaneth not so, neither doth his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. So the Assyrian thought it was his own power. Matter of fact, let's grab this in the NLT. All right. So Isaiah 10 and verse 7 in the NLT, it says, but the king of Assyria will not understand that he is my tool. His mind does not work that way. His plan is simply to destroy, to cut down nation after nation. He will say, each of my princes will soon be a king. We destroyed Kalno just as we did Carchemish. Hamath fell before us as Arpad did, and we destroyed Samaria just as we did Damascus. Yes, we have finished off many a kingdom whose gods were greater than those in Jerusalem and Samaria. So we will defeat Jerusalem and her gods, just as we destroyed Samaria with hers. After the Lord has used the king of Assyria to accomplish his purposes on Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, he will turn against the king of Assyria and punish him, for he is proud and arrogant. And so there you go. So the Lord used this king, all right, to punish the nation of Israel, all right. And then he did what? He punished Assyria because of the pride, because they didn't acknowledge that it is the Lord that sets them up in the kingdom. All right, he's the one that gives them the power. Let me grab this in the book of Wisdom of Solomon. This is Wisdom of Solomon 6 and verse 1. It says, Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand, learn ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out your counsels. And that's right, he'll give you power. And if you commit sin, well, then what? He will take that power away from you. All right. And so we see this as a repetitive theme in the scriptures. All right. Over and over, you see these kings that get raised up to go against Jerusalem, to go against the Israelites. All right. They put them in slavery, carry them away captive, and then they become prideful. All right. They forget that it was the Lord that gave them that authority. And then they do what? They get destroyed. All right. And so it says verse 5, Salakia. Matter of fact, Salakia verse 4. It says, Because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of the heavenly Father. Horribly and speedily shall he come upon you, for a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. And why is that? Because they became prideful. Salakia. And so I also wanted to grab this. Let me see. I got two more for you. Back in the book of Sirach 10. Bear with me. And verse 4. It says, The power of the earth is in the hand of Hadawan Yahweh, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. And he does that by way of wars. All right, because when you read the book of Exodus 15 and verse 3, it says that the Lord is a man of war. And so these different nations, they get taken down by way of war. All right, these take Rome, for example. They were able to take over in that time. You know, it was considered the world, but they were able to take it down because the Lord first and foremost was with them, and he gave them that power. They would take down one small nation, and then they would use the men that they subdued and put them in the army, make them fight for them. And it was a constant repetitive thing with Rome, and that's how they were able to amass such a great army. All right. It wasn't the doing of the Edomite. It wasn't just his smarts. It was the Heavenly Father that was working with him. Right. And it tells you in the book of Psalms 50 that these nations, especially of the nation of Esau, Edom, thinks that the Lord is with them when they do these things. All right. But it's really the Lord using them as his tool. All right. As his weapons of indignation. And very soon, you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and North American Indians are going to be used as the Heavenly Father's tools of righteousness, all right, to bring forth judgment upon the earth, starting with the elect and the 1/3 of the nation of Israel who are going to be given power from on high. All right, so we're going to end it off here. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51 and verse 19. It says, The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Hadawan of hosts, Yahweh of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. So the same way that our people were destroyed by these different nations and kingdoms, all right, is going to happen to those nations and kingdoms as well. We're going to be used as the Lord's rod of inheritance, as his rod of anger. All right, his righteous, his indignation, his righteous anger. It says, verse 21, And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. So we're going to take this whole kingdom down, man. All right, the Lord is going to use us. All right, and when Yahweh Shai returns and these nations' time of rulership is up, the Heavenly Father is going to give us that power. All right, once again, starting with the elect and the 1/3, and we're going to, Lord's will, we're not only called, but we're chosen, and we're of that number. We're going to rain down the Lord's judgment upon these different nations, the same way that these nations rain down judgment upon us. All right. The Lord had used these nations to bring down that judgment. And so with that being said, I pray that this lesson was edifying, uplifting of the spirit. Know that it is the Lord that is in control. You other nations, all right, that don't get it. You don't have anything that the Heavenly Father hasn't given you. All right. Even us, we don't have anything that the Lord didn't give us. This ministry, For example, right? If it weren't for the Lord's mercy, we wouldn't even be here. So these are things that you want to keep in mind, and remember that we have to remain humble because we don't have power. All right, it all comes from the Heavenly Father. And so once again, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. Call Haloyim La Yahweh, Bahashemi Awashai. Until the next time I say,